now.
All right, and welcome to Mythical Monster Investigations, Episode 9, where we'll be continuing our dive into dragons. This episode, we're going to be looking exclusively at Asian dragons, so things mostly of the Eastern Hemisphere. Should be a lot of fun. There's a lot to cover, so let's just jump in. Now, for Eastern Dragons, a slight disclaimer, we're going to be excluding some due to their correspondence with certain dragon mythos that I want to cover in another video. So we won't be looking at those if there's any you feel we missed. And we are going to try to exclude sea serpents, but as we're going to find out with some of these dragons, they're going to be water-based. There's no way around it. There's a lot of water-based in Asian dragons. So with that being said, let's get into it. Now, contrary to European dragons, the majority of Asian dragons are generally perceived as symbols of good luck. They are seen as strength. They are good fortune, and also they look slightly different. Where the European dragons are known for being hexapods with large wings, being overly dangerous, the Chinese dragons, in particular, most Asian dragons, are more serpentine and may or may not possess four limbs. They can be quadrupeds, they cannot be, and especially a lot is focused on magical powers. Now, while they don't have wings, most of them can fly. So most of them are in the clouds. They are capable of flying almost like a snake traveling on the ground, despite not having wings, because they use magic to fly. So again, magical powers are really important because dragons are symbols of magic in most of any Eastern myths related to dragons. And especially in China, for instance, they are a symbol of strength and honor. And the image of the dragon is reserved for the most accomplished or the most worthy. So anyone back in ancient China, especially, who had an image of the dragon would be either an emperor or someone very high up, or someone who has done a great deed, a great general or a great soldier. You had to earn the right to be able to wear the image of the dragon. Now, as for the powers, as we look through the various dragons on this list, what we're going to see is that a lot of them had powers over water, rainfall, and floods. And quite a few of them were shapeshifters into various forms, which, again, we'll touch on more. Which it does bring up an interesting question in that dragons are revered in most of Asian mythology. While they can seem destructive, while they can be destructive forces, most of them are great symbols of strength. There's something to be praised, nearly worshipped in some cultures. Which brings up an interesting question of the theory, going back to original video where we said one of the theories about dragons was that it was really a fear of snakes. Well, I mean, if it's a fear of snakes, why are these things suddenly revered? Two, why in a lot of these mythologies are snakes and dragons separate creatures? And three is one of the biggest things is that snakes aren't really that dangerous. Despite what people think, snakes are not particularly dangerous. In fact, most of the time, they're more scared of you. Snakes, when they attack people, it's rare, and it generally happens because you've threatened them or you've wound up in their nest or something. So that's it so far. Anything you guys want to add before we kind of start diving into the various types of dragons?
There's a bunch of people who accidentally stepped into a rattlesnake or a poisonous snake's home or walked through some flood water recently and got bit by a water snake, and they're cursing your name right now, Archimage. When you say they aren't particularly dangerous, they're like, fuck you.
I said not particularly dangerous. I didn't say they weren't dangerous. They're bloody snakes. Of course they're dangerous. They're just not particularly dangerous. Well, I'm sorry. They're snakes. They are actually mostly afraid of will defend themselves. We're just going to get a whole
Uh,
bunch of hate comments about screw you because this snake bit me, aren't we?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's my fault. But anyway, Zed, you want to add something to fuel the fire of hatred for me saying snakes aren't that dangerous?
No. I think you've done enough of a job of that yourself. I don't need to add anything.
I mean,
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm just saying that that's a bold statement. That I mean, some people would disagree with you. For the people listening to this on the podcast, one, thank you. Two, I just posted an image of why snakes and people don't get along that well.
Yes, it's a man being eaten by a
It's
snake.
not being eaten. He's already been
He
eaten.
has been eaten.
He's
He is
being
in the
digested.
snake.
He's being
He is
digested
in
right
the
now.
snake.
Okay, clearly this is from a movie.
I think so. I don't know where this is from. I just took man eating snake, and this was the first one I found that wasn't a man actually eating a snake.
Well, yeah. Okay, yes, snakes can at times eat people, but again, it's fairly rare.
I don't know. This looks like closer to modern day than I would think. I would think if that picture was taken, I don't think it's as uncommon as you think. As you're making
Okay,
it
this is
seem.
not a real picture. Snake stomachs do not stretch like this.
I don't know.
That we know of.
Okay, look, I'm not the biggest fan of snakes, but come on, the physics doesn't add up here.
I mean, they can stretch pretty big. I've seen some snake eat some pretty big things.
You can see the outline of his tennis shoes.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hell of a digestion for that snake. That's gonna be
Yeah.
a heck of a crap.
Not to mention, snakes squeeze the life out of their prey first.
Yeah, this guy just went voluntarily. Clearly.
Oh,
Yeah.
for heaven. Okay, for all of those watching on YouTube, the image is fake. I promise you. The image is... The pattern's not even the same
We're gonna
on
get-
the snake
Of
versus
all
on
the
him.
videos we're gonna get comments on, we're gonna get comments going, legit, seems legit, completely legit. That's
Yep.
gonna be like all the
Yep.
comments.
Why? Why?
I've seen it, people be like commenting, I've seen it before. Yep, happened to my cousin that way. That's how I lost my
Oh, God. For all of you, no, it didn't. Snakes' bodies do not... Okay, we're moving on. Seriously?
Okay. I think this was the next one.
Yes, okay, so we're going to start with dragons in Chinese mythology. Now, the first one that we're going to do, which thank you, Shadow R. Fox, for changing the image so we don't have to see that. I appreciate it,
There you go.
mostly. We're going to be looking at the Azure Dragon. Now, in China, dragons are a very big deal. Besides the symbols of the emperor, Chinese dragons are symbols of good luck and prestige, which means there's a lot of Chinese dragons. The Azure Dragon is one of them. And it goes through a lot of cultures. It's one of the chaotic forces of the 5 regions' highest deities. It's also one of the 4 symbols of the Chinese constellations. So this is the thing that we're going to see is that these dragons represent prestige, and why is because a lot of them are said to be either reincarnations or actual descendants of the Chinese emperors. The emperors claimed descendants from these powerful creatures, and the Azure Dragon is one of them. It, along with many others, has stories of being related to some emperor or another. So after the Azure Dragon, we then go to another, which is called the Dragon King. Now, the Dragon King, or also known as the Dragon God, is supposed to be a Chinese water and weather god, dispenser of rain, commanding over all bodies of water, and he is pretty much one of the big deities of Chinese mythology, especially when it comes to the importance of water, which essentially water's life and water's life. So that's what matters about it. And did you have something you wanted to say about the Dragon King, Shadow R Fox? Huh?
That's not Dragon King. These are Dragon Kings, okay? So let's get that straight. There's plenty of other contenders for Dragon Kings. On the right, we got the Dragon King from the Dragon Prince from the Netflix series. And I believe on the left, we got the Dragon King from the Fairy Tale series.
Yep.
Both bigger, more ferocious.
I would put money on ours over yours. Just saying.
I mean, I don't know about the Fairy Tale one, but I know the Dragon Prince one's the size of a mountain. So I'm gonna be very impressed if your Dragon King argument can take one of ours.
Okay. Probably not, considering that, the mythology of my Dragon King. It's not even my Dragon freaking China's, was written a lot later. Well, no, I'm sorry, a lot earlier than these two, and didn't have the power of BS anime powers.
Mine's pretty level. It only have the power of Zeus, of lightning. That's pretty.
I'm pretty sure mine, there was never a classification. The best they could come up with was just arcane.
So there you go. Arcane and lightning. What element do your Dragon King command?
I told you, water, thunderstorms, and rain.
Okay, so he'll do good against mine, but then against Zed's, I think Arcane's a little bit outside of his realm of what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, fine. Contact Death Battle and ask them to do this together. We'll see who comes out on top.
They probably will do it. You don't want them. They did Monkey King versus Hercules. They'll probably do this.
Okay, fair enough. That was just a one-sided fight. I mean, that was a horrible choice to put against each other.
I can see why they would do Hercules just because of all the the
but he's
demigods.
still he's a half-mortal demigod versus a freaking 2,000 time immortal monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What chance did he have? The only thing he had were those poisoned arrows.
Yeah.
You think poison stops Sun Wukong?
Well, these were poison that were supposed to be able to kill things that was immortals, essentially. Well, not kill. Technically, it just make them suffer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great. How many versions of immortality does Sun Wukong have?
Exactly. So
how many are affected by that? And how many aren't?
Wukong have actually been affected by poison that
No, he has.
that have literally put him down out of the fight. So
Yeah,
that would be a legitimate. It wouldn't kill him. It would just annoy the heck out of him for the longest time. So
yeah.
Yeah, still not much of a competition, but it was a
since,
fun fight.
Since we brought in Monkey King, it is in conjunction to this because there was multiple dragons in Monkey King. The most common one would be the horse that the monk ride on top of for Journey to the West is technically a dragon transformed into a horse.
It's also completely useless.
It does do one thing once in one story in Journey to the West where it turns back into a dragon and do actually fight.
Great. How many times did they have to fight in Journey to the West?
Like every episode.
Okay, great. And it helped once. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's useless.
Also,
yeah,
the Monkey King staff is from the Dragon King of the Sea.
Yes.
Not intentionally, though. He went to his palace, and he wanted weapons from the Dragon King of the Sea, and the, well, it wasn't even Dragon King. I think he was like the Dragon Lord of the Sea. Whatever. Anyway, he went to him, tried to get a weapon, none of the weapons he liked, and then he saw a giant pillar sticking straight up through the sea, and he's like, I want that. And he's like, okay, if you can move it, you can have it. And he moved it, and then he shrunk it, and he took it with him. And that's his staff. Is a giant pillar.
Yeah. So clearly a lot of fighting West nonsense.
And
which,
that's
if my
Chinese,
history remembers,
but that's Chinese myth. So don't tell me that they don't have crazy anime BS in Chinese myth. That's one.
yeah, no, absolutely, that is crazy Chinese. Let's not. And if I have this right, wasn't Dragon Ball Z based off Into the Journey in the West?
Yes, very heavily.
That was the entire bit of the original Dragon Ball. Was it was a retelling of Journey to the West.
Son Wukong.
Okay, there you go.
Son Goku.
Makes sense.
Literally, their name is almost the same.
Yes, it's pretty much the
Well, that explains the madness.
And they're both equally as dumb.
Yeah, and honestly, bizarre and odd is something that's going to be a lot in this video, especially as we now go on to our next dragon. This one, for those of you watching on YouTube, I actually don't have an image for. This is called the Gongung dragon. Now, okay, so this thing was weird. It had a copper head, the body of a serpent, and it changed a lot. It seemed to be mostly slightly metallic. It's bizarre. Sometimes the head and the torso are human, and it has a tail that's a serpent, but basically he's a destructive force. He's blamed for various cosmic catastrophes. But in almost all accounts, he ends up being killed or sent into exile by losing a fight with another deity, usually a fire god.
No.
So, there's one of the very few dragons that's actually still a destructive force and not as revered. So much so that there's really not a good and conclusive image for the Gongongs, which I'm butchering that name. I don't have any idea how it's pronounced. But moving on, we're going to then take a look at the yellow dragon, which, yeah, it's a dragon that's yellow. For people watching on YouTube, yeah, it's a yellow Chinese dragon. This was actually a symbol of the Yellow Emperor, and it became an incarnation of it, and it's supposed to be the center of the universe in Chinese religion and mythology. Again, something we're going to see quite often. The Yellow Emperor was supposed to be conceived by a god who became pregnant after seeing a yellow ray of light. Yeah, it sounds kind of like Perseus, doesn't it?
That sounds literally like, with Perseus and Zeus's golden light shower. I have to say light shower and can't just say the other version because apparently whenever I Google search Zeus's golden showers, I don't get what I'm looking for.
Yes, I can't imagine what you would get, especially with the
you definitely don't want to imagine what I get.
No, I actually do not. So again, we see here another dragon, an important dragon deity that's supposed to be representative of the ruling class, to make the emperor descendant of. So, another method for making the emperor divine, which will then lead us to our next dragon, which is Shenlong.
Oh, okay.
Now
come shoot. You had me put out order. I put way. Oh, I put out order. Okay.
I'm sorry. Did I say?
I thought we were gonna be Yinglong was the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have it as maybe I'm out of whatever.
Okay, Shinra.
Oh
Okay.
no, I'm sorry. That's my fault. I'm out of order. Well, we've already got it up. So I'm sorry.
Too late. We're committed now.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We're committed.
You're right. I'm sorry. I got confused. Okay, I got distracted by your stupid shower joke.
Oh yeah, blame Zeus.
You know, why not? Why not? Everybody else did. To be fair, it usually was his fault.
Usually.
Okay. Yeah, so just to say, shout out to Shadow R Fox, one, for coping with me basically losing my place in my notes. I appreciate it. Second of all, for finding an image of Shenlong, because honestly, when I tried to find this, I just kept finding pictures of the dragon from Dragon Ball Z. Like, literally, that's all I found. Which I apparently
There we go.
Supposed to be based on him, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can kind of see the resemblance.
This is Shenron.
Right. And so yes, this is the spirit dragon from Chinese mythology. He's dragon god of the tempest. He's master of the rain. We're gonna find that a lot. A lot of these dragons are gonna be master of rain or master of water, something significant like that. Celestial dragons and very powerful. And he's actually one of a set of dragons which basically all kind of tie into the Emperor. So again, thank you for me getting out of order. I apologize. That's my fault. Okay, so going back to it, the next one should be Ying Long trying to get back on track here, right?
Okay, I was making sure my whole thing wasn't completely off because I'm like, oh geez,
Yeah.
am I completely off? Are we gonna have
No,
a random?
I apologize. That was my fault. No, that was my fault.
No, I thought this was
apologize.
about to be watch as Shadow Fox search through a name of a bunch of random Asian dragon names that he has no clue about how to pronounce as he randomly start picking dragons at random.
Okay, so Shenlong again has a lot of similarity. Actually, it's almost exactly the same. It's a spirit dragon from Chinese mythology, dragon god of the tempest. He's also master of the rain. Equal significance. Just he's a celestial dragon. So that's points that we see a bunch of these continue to go into it. Yeah, but yeah, he's a rain deity, legendary creature, blah blah blah, winged dragon of rain. This one is slightly different in that he is actually said to. Apparently, that wasn't extremely popular, but yeah, some of them did have wings, but very few. But again, he is another one of these kind of dragons that were meant to glorify the emperor, kind of thing. The emperor's claimed to be part of these dragons, which is something that I want everybody to keep in mind. Because while the quadruped dragons like these are the most common because they do have the most prestige, which again we'll look into later in this video, but they weren't the only type. There were serpentine dragons, which, for one, when we start to look at such as the Bashi, which I hope I'm back in order, right?
Yeah.
The Bashi, which obviously is a python-like dragon, and despite what the image on YouTube looks like, it does not have a beard. It is, in fact, eating an elephant.
Again,
Because,
that looks like two little feet dangling out of his mouth when you say it's not a beard. But then when you say it's an elephant, it's apparently, if you're looking on YouTube, that's not elephant backside, which it looked like. That's apparently its ear.
okay, well, what do you want? Like, not everyone can be great artists.
Well, one is it's white, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, that's probably just the image on the computer. The original was probably more gray.
Okay, because I'm like, how many white elephants was there back then?
Well, technically, white elephants are more pink, but that's not the point. It eats elephants. Isn't that enough?
I mean, we just saw a snake eat a person, so
That image was fake.
now you got me curious.
About an actual snake eating a person, or about this?
A snake eating an elephant.
Oh, for heavens. Okay, for those who are still listening and actually looking for actual facts and not nonsense, as it turns out, there are actually elephants in China, which I didn't know. I didn't actually care to know, but
I knew that.
I mean, I knew there were elephants in China. How did you not know there were elephants in China?
honestly, I didn't care to think about it.
Fair enough.
Like, it's not something I didn't really know. It's just something I never considered before. I never think of elephants coming from China. Like, again, when I think about it, there's no reason China wouldn't have elephants. I never thought about it. But
I knew it only because of the Three Kingdoms. The neighboring tribal faction would use elephants to attack the Chinese Han forces. So
yeah, I haven't studied the Three Kingdoms very much. I haven't studied a lot of Chinese, like, history and mythology. Well, I'll say most. Oh, really?
I found a better picture. It makes sense
For-
now. I understand completely. So the bots say it's a long neck dinosaur. That's all you had to tell me.
For those of you listening to this and not
I
seeing it on YouTube, what Shadow R Fox has posted is an elephant being eaten by a snake, and the snake basically turns into a brontosaurus.
Yeah, makes sense. I get it now.
Yeah, sure. This is where dinosaur comes from. Let's just piss off evolutionists and creationists all at the same time. Get that out of the way.
I think creationists may actually like that image. I think they would probably be on board with that image.
Moving on. Moving on to the Ikuchi. I
Japanese, I
probably
believe.
butchered that name. Yes, the Ikuchi is Japanese. Basically, he's a water dragon. And yeah, again, as you find out with most of these dragons, all the ones where we different looking at different parts of Age of Dragons, there's just no getting away from the water. I tried to keep a difference between sea serpents and dragons. But this is technically still under dragon, but all the dragons in Asian mythology, or at least like 98% of them, are water based, having to do with rain, water, storms, something like that.
Okay, I gotta stop you right there because there's only one dragon I know of that come out of the water. And I used to watch it every Saturday morning when a flute was played from a flute sword would play. That dragon would come up and it would tear shit up.
Yes, the mighty dragon Zord of the Power Rangers. Yes, I understand, but that's not the same water dragon we're talking about.
Does it come from the
You're
water?
right. You're right. It's a superior water dragon.
Yeah,
It's a machine!
mine got missiles. What do your water dragon has?
Oh, it doesn't have missiles.
Does it have a tail that has a drill on the end?
Probably not.
Then it doesn't have shit.
Well, it's a mythological dragon, not an awesome mechanical death machine.
Points away. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. Yeah, yes. The dragon Zord is clearly superior, especially since it doesn't have a back door in its control room.
That we know of.
That we know of.
That we know of. Okay, so moving on from the Power Rangers. The next dragon is going back to, I think it's Chinese.
China, I believe. If
yeah.
it's the Fuzalong.
Fuzalong. The Fuzalong, which is a dragon of hidden treasures. And it's also supposed to be an underworld dragon. This is actually one of the dragons that doesn't directly relate to water or storms. It is supposed to be a treasure dragon that hoards treasure beneath the ground. And funny enough, as in most of these things, when it does come out of the ground, it comes out with such ferocity that it actually creates volcanoes. Volcanoes are formed from when this dragon sprouts out to get more gold and riches, which is why when it's depicted, it's usually depicted in very ornate and lavish colors, especially gold. Bright greens, bright reds, anything that says we have a lot of money, because that's what this dragon's all about. So the reason I'm sharing this is that we see a bit of prestige in this, how dragons are starting to relate more to particular aspects of their culture, to particular wealth, to prestige. And that's what each one of these dragons are doing in these mythologies. And we will see that through most of them. One that's we don't see that as much is the next dragon, the Tianlong, or Tianlong, something like that, which I think I'm also mispronouncing. But essentially, Tianlong dragons are dragons that are heavenly. They're heavenly dragons, and they're ridden by the Xian. So basically, they're your horse dragons from the West. In fact, it might have been what they were based on.
I think those was when Sun Wukong were placed in charge of the Imperial stables. I believe those was the horses of the Imperial stable, just because I think they referred. Now I'm actually. Yeah, I'm more than sure that was the one that they would. Yeah, the white horse dragons.
Yeah. And, well, again, this is later on, as you can see, dragon. This image is meant to show the importance of the people they bear, because these people are literally so important and so powerful, they contain bloody dragons.
Oh well,
Now,
shoot me in the foot.
what?
The horse dragon from Journey to the West. That's what type of dragon this is. A Tai Long.
Ah,
Is
okay,
it?
so,
Yeah, it's known as It would later became the Oh, I'm gonna butcher that. The Bai Long Mai or Babu Tai Long Gung Li, I believe. At the end of the novel, that was this new title. So yeah, get Tai Long in the name, pretty much.
awesome.
So okay, yeah, Journey to the West is pretty much that dragon.
Oh, that works. Okay, so, yeah, that is right. And, again, it's meant to show prestige. You know, you're powerful enough and important enough to have a freaking dragon carry you around, right?
I
Which,
mean, look, if some people can have hydraulics on their cars, you can roll up in a dragon and no one's gonna question you.
really? That's what you're equating. Hydraulics in a car to riding a bloody dragon.
Yeah, well, can one raise up and lower down? Can the other raise up and lower
Probably
down?
not in the same way. One can fly.
I mean, one can bounce.
Because bouncing and flying are the same thing. Zed, help me out here.
I mean, to be fair, the original Superman flew only because it was originally he was supposed to be able to leap, but they didn't want to
Yeah,
draw
he
him
leaped in a
actually.
single bound. So
Yeah, he
He
leaps. He
leapt
doesn't fly. They didn't.
He leapt
they didn't
over buildings, not not a foot off the ground.
Eh,
There's
foot,
kind of a
building.
difference.
potato, potato.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't have.
That's not potato. That's not potato. Like that. That's potato chocolate bar.
Actually, I did have a chocolate bar a few days ago that had potato chips in it. So
That raised questions.
It hurts a little bit. It does. Okay. Bottom line, the dragons here are meant to show the prestige and power of their riders, not them themselves. Okay, we got that. Good. Let's move on. The next one, the Geolong. 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 Okay, so this is basically supposed to be a hornless, scaled dragon living in the water. Now, this is one of the dragons, like in our European mythos, that could have actually been based on a real creature. This one, since it is basically just supposed to be a scaled quadruped without horns, which a lot of dragons were depicted with horns because horns represent power. They have represented power since, honestly, the dawn of time. Well, not the dawn of time, but as long as humans have representations of power. And this creature might have actually been based on Chinese crocodiles and large reptiles. So that's a possibility for this one. So there are some where, like in European stories, we will find could have been based on real creatures, but we are not going to find as many. So this is one of the few. And moving on, this brings us to our next one, which actually, for those watching on the podcast, I did not have a one because it was strange as hell. This one was called Kwai-Long. Now, Kwai-Long is interesting because Kwai-Long, listen to this, you guys. Kwai-Long literally means horned dragon or hornless dragon. Do you get that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it literally means either horned dragon or hornless dragon. Before I go into this, do you want to give some thoughts on that?
Which is it?
both.
No, it's both. Seriously, what do you think about it being both? But both of you, anything you want to say, go ahead.
Is that like a mistranslation? Or
Nope.
do the word for horn and hornless, is that the same in ancient Chinese? Is it?
Nope.
The only thing I have to say is this, and people say English is complicated.
Okay, so I was confused about this too, but apparently Kuai is more of a title. So Kuai typically means immature. So horn dragon or hornless, meaning gaining horns or not yet having horns. So it was given to people who had the potential, would be great eventually, but still haven't reached that. So people who were expected to be great, but hadn't achieved the ability to call themselves or adorn a dragon as of yet. So again, this is where dragons become more symbolic than, really creatures. Make sense?
Yeah, clear as mud.
Yeah, so yeah, we see that in other things too, like the Tang dragon, which I also did not find a photo of. Um, but this is a winged serpentine dragon, and basically, this one is another denotion of character, meaning rising star. So, well, not it doesn't directly mean rising star, but the closest like approximation to it, it's someone who is rising up through the ranks, someone who is showing promise, someone who's coming up is like, yeah, you could see potential in that guy. So that's where Tang Dragon kind of comes from that. And the next one we then go to might be another one of the creatures that we actually have one for, is called a Dailong. And this is supposed to be an earthworm dragon. Now, the Dailong was probably based on a creature called blind snakes. Now, I'm not gonna lie, blind snakes are kind of weird because essentially they look like very large worms. They do in fact have eyes, but they're very hard to see. And I mean, worm dragon makes sense considering how small worms are to suddenly have basically a snake-sized worm. I mean, you could see that. I don't really know why they call it a dragon, but I guess
It's blue.
makes sense.
It's blue, and they had a azure dragon, so a blue dragon.
Yeah, I guess so. And honestly, there are lots of different reptiles in China that could have been added to what dragons look like, added to how they move, how they act, and everything else. One such example, one of the most famous ones, is the Chinese giant salamander, which is the largest salamander in the world. Which, yeah, considering how much China has dragons that are based around water, rainfall, and storms, you could kind of see how this thing could play into the myth of more of a subtle and, well, not threatening dragon. Though, to be fair, I'm not actually sure if giant salamanders are dangerous. I don't think they are.
Not that I
I
know
mean,
of.
salamanders aren't particularly dangerous. I wouldn't expect giant salamanders to be that dangerous.
Don't even think they eat anything bigger than bugs, actually. Even that's the giant salamander, because the giant salamander, I think, get no bigger than an iguana.
I think
Giant
they get,
salamanders are not dangerous to humans.
yeah, okay.
Oh, never
I think
mind.
they get bigger than iguanas.
They reach up to about, oh, wow, 6 feet. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, they get big. They're called giant salamanders for a reason. But I
Yeah,
don't
Oh,
think
but
they're
I guess
harmful.
it could. I guess it could be slightly dangerous because it says here all salamanders are poisonous. But what it is they won't. They won't necessarily attack humans.
Yeah, so I think it's just yeah, I think that's it. So I don't. So you can kind of see how this kind of played into the more calm and non-threatening dragons, at least a little bit, or at least maybe have inspired their look and water deity a little bit. Actually, Shadow Arfox, I believe you were a myth which I did not go into about a koi fish that turns into a dragon, right?
Oh, that was in Japan. That was a old. I can't remember whether it's a story or old proverb of a koi fish that came upon a waterfall and it kept trying to swim to the top of the waterfall, and by the time it reached the top, it became a dragon.
I mean, correlation between fish and salamander? Because they do kind of look fish-like. I mean, I'm guessing. I haven't thought
I
about
think
this. Like,
I think this story was purely made for the point of dragon and the symbolism of dragons, because I know the
yeah,
whole point of the story is perseverance, essentially, and then
yeah,
reaching a pinnacle once you actually achieve what you ever you set out for.
gotcha. Well, again, still, that does fit with the whole theme that we're seeing with Asian dragons. Is that where in Europe they were a foreboding force that had to be conquered, here they're becoming more of good luck, prestige, and rewards. They're symbols of power. It's the main thing. And again, we're going to look at that a little bit later. So, plenty of reptiles to actually help kind of mold what the dragons look like. And there are go beyond China.
So,
Another
be-
ones to look at.
before we
Sorry,
go to
what?
the other region, did we want to show the Pokemon that most resemble Asian dragons?
Oh, yes, let's do that. I'm sorry, I was getting into it.
No,
By
no.
all means, let's play Who's That Monster Pokemon and give me a break to think a little bit.
Okay, so wait,
God, there's so much on Asian dragons.
let me see. Can we get the game up? Let's see. Who is that freaking Pokemon? Oh, jeez, there's so many. We could. I just realized, Zed, we could have did a different one than what we chose. We
I'm
could.
sure we could have.
We could have did Dragonair and Dratini.
We've done them before,
Oh,
though.
have we done them? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did them in the European one.
No, we did them in the Central American one.
Oh, yeah. Didn't we do another one in the European? Wait,
The
was there a
European
worm-like
one
dragon?
we did
Dragon Knight,
Dragon
probably.
Knight.
Yeah. You know what? We're probably going to repeat some. There's a lot of dragons.
Okay, Zed, do the honor because I think we all know what's coming.
I mean, we showed Shenron earlier, so let's show Pokemon Shenron. Of course, we picked Rayquaza.
There you go. I mean, that definitely looks the closest to a Chinese dragon.
Yeah,
I mean, pretty much 1-to-1 at that point.
that's pretty much what it is.
Which I'm surprised that it didn't actually come out with the original 50. Wait a minute. Nope. Not surprised. Pokemon's Japanese, not Chinese.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, never mind. I withdraw my statement.
I guess the only noteworthy thing that is, in terms of behavior, I would probably put Dratini up there and Dragonair because they live in the water.
Yeah.
Whereas Rayquaza, it is specifically a celestial dragon. It is from space.
Wait, what?
Yes.
It is? I thought it was just I
it-
thought it just lived in the sky.
Is it the
Wait,
sky?
It's the sky.
Okay,
It's not
is
from
it just
space.
the sky? Okay, well, it's
I
still a
was gonna say, does
celestial
Pokemon
dragon.
have aliens now?
Yes. Deroxys.
Actually, it does. Yes.
Deroxys.
How the hell
Deoxys
does
is-
Pokemon have aliens?
Well, it also has interdimensional beings that you can catch.
Yeah.
Is that weird Celebi thing?
No.
No, that's the time traveling one.
Oh well, excuse me. Clearly, such.
Don't get the Doctor Who one confused with the interdimensional one.
I'm surprised there isn't a Pokemon shaped like a TARDIS.
There's
Really?
not.
You
There-
cannot honestly tell me that there is one shaped like a TARDIS.
Well, actually, to be fair, Rotom's fridge form.
Yeah, but it's shaped to be
But that's a fridge.
refrigerator, so
It's shaped to be a okay.
it's a ghost Pokemon that possesses electronics, so it possesses a fridge.
And thus turns into a fridge.
Yeah, so
Oh, because that makes so much more sense.
Makes about as much sense as a sentient pile of sludge.
This is why I'm glad I got off Pokemon.
hey, Grimer was from the same Pokemon you play.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm only now looking back at it going, oh god, I used to play this. Again, in my defense, it was never my fault that I got into Pokemon, which I'm not going to get into on this. But you two know why I had to get into Pokemon.
Yes.
So that wasn't my fault.
And speaking of, we should probably, since this is probably the best time as any, to throw in the one, another Pokemon that we wanted to give honorable mention to, since we're talking about
Oh no.
Asian dragons, and we really couldn't figure out a dragon that, while we could find dragons to identify with all the other Asian dragons, we couldn't really find an Asian dragon to identify with this one.
Oh yes, Tatsugiri, the sushi dragon. Which yes, that is a dragon.
I think it's just plain dragon type. I don't even think it's water type.
No, I think it's dragon water. Hang on.
Is it dragon water? Okay, because it lives by the water. That's why.
Yes, it's dragon water.
Okay.
Ironically, I'm getting sushi tomorrow, and now I'm going to every bite I take.
Every salmon sushi
Actually,
see is gonna be that.
it's not even just that this thing looks like sushi. That's its gimmick. There's another Pokemon that you pair with it that eats this thing, and it gets stronger.
Yes. Well, to be fair, it doesn't eat it. It put it in its mouth and don't swallow. Which, yes, there's a lot of jokes you can make about that, but...
I was going to say, but never mind.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on from you guys essentially ruining my dinner tomorrow.
You're welcome.
The next dragons we're looking at are either Rong or Long, which are Vietnamese dragons. And honestly, they're also water deities, rain bringers, and sometimes can shapeshift. When they shapeshift, they're depicted as mothers with children. But they're often depicted rising out of the water or clouds. So again, we see this similarity. And we're going to continue to see this, even going from Vietnamese to Filipino dragons. Now, Filipino dragons, such as, I'm going to absolutely butcher this name, the Bakunawa, which, well, they're called many things. The Bakunawa, the Lauri, the Olimawa, the Sawa, the Samalnaga, and the Kanlan. All of them are pretty much various forms of the same types of Filipino dragons, which are actually said to swallow the moon and the sun. So essentially, these are the dragons in Filipino culture which cause eclipses. So, I mean, that's interesting.
Look out, children of Fenrir. You got competition.
Yeah, I really didn't have any notes on that. You guys got anything?
I'm surprised didn't the Mayan or the Aztecs, didn't their serpent god do the same? It would eat the sun or the moon, and that's how they classify an eclipse, essentially.
Did they?
Because I remember they went through an eclipse and they claimed one of their gods was angered or something. Oh jeez, it was.
Yeah, but I don't think they specifically said that they ate it.
No, but I mean the moon or the sun being blocked out is enough to make some people go, yeah, in the times.
Yeah, no, of course, but it's usually just that the gods are angry and took it away. It's not usually that they directly ate it. Like, as far as I know, that's pretty unique to Filipino culture.
And Norse.
I mean, as far as I know. Oh, yeah, and Norse. But Norse is later on. Yeah, no, just... from there, moving on to dragons of India, such as the Naga, which is prevalent in Hinduism and Buddhism. Now, these things are kind of strange. They're serpentine, but they could have been quadrupeds. They're supposed to be half human with serpentine bodies. They also control water, rain, and are particularly controlling of droughts. They're supposed to be half human, and once again, we see that they are connected to the ruling class, which we're going to see a lot in this, and just dragons become this kind of connection to the ruling class. Why, again, we're going to talk about a little later on. We'll discuss a few more of the dragons. One such, we're going to move on to Indonesia and a little bit of Japan, where dragons start to gain various depictions of uniquely multi-headed dragons. And one such dragon is called the Chimere or Chimere. And these dragons, they're interesting. They actually are some of the few that have a very distinction between male and female. For instance, the males have cobra hoods, and they have multiple heads, and they're all odd. So the odd-headed dragons were male, while the females were all even-headed to express feminine energy. And Zed, I believe you had a Pokemon that resembled this.
I did,
Which,
and I didn't know that this thing had multiple heads, because then the one I picked actually resembles it more so than I thought.
Wait, which
yeah,
one was?
so
Oh, yeah. Let me.
Because while
Hey.
there aren't any dragons that really have a cobra-like head, the closest I could find was the Dragapult line, or Eternatus, which their heads are close enough, but the fact that thing has multiple heads and Dragapult has other of its pre-evolution in its head to fire off as missiles, it is a lot closer than I thought.
yeah, kudos. And well, yeah. Also, they were said to have crocodilian features, cat-like features, which seems strange, but both of them were supposed to be very powerful animals, so that's why they were represented. So we see here, like, less and less are possible real creatures, and more of them are symbolic, which isn't that different from European. The difference is, as you can see, with the main difference is the Europeans continued with the dragons as being symbols of evil, while in the East, Asian countries depicted them more and more as symbols of power and almost divinity. Which brings us to our next dragon, the Kuzarui. Is that how you pronounce that? Kuzarui? Oh, I'm going with it.
Close enough.
Yeah, I'm going with it. This is a 9-headed dragon, and this is a dragon that demanded the sacrifice of a daughter of a random house, which was decided by an arrow shot up into the air, and wherever the arrow landed, that house had to sacrifice a daughter to this dragon.
That does sound like the same. Was it stopped by a Yeah, I think that is the same story Archimage, where they saved the maiden who was supposed to be sacrificed that night, that particular night, by getting several of the heads drunk so they could kill it.
Yeah. There's also a claim where a Japanese priest cursed the dragon and then chained it to a cedar. There's also another legend where they sent down a white feather to be eaten by the dragon. It's said to be influenced by Buddhism. So, yeah, it's weird. But again, I want to mention, in particular, 9 heads. Nine's a big symbol of power. So, yeah. And that's one of the other stories about dragons that don't really make sense, is that it just kind of goes into more fable territory where dragons are becoming symbols. This is one of the few dragons that are like symbols of a threat that needs to be taken care of. Instead of being a symbol of prestige and strength, this is a threat. This is something that they have to defeat. And even though they defeat it, you'll notice that in this, they don't really kill it. They're able to just kind of subdue it. As if it's such a powerful creature, it really can't be beaten. Showing more and more as dragons almost take on this divinity. And to continue that, or march away from it,
My
then
mistake.
brings
It was
us
called a
to...
Rochi. Dang it! I knew I would get it eventually.
Oh, Orochi? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking. It had 8 heads. That was what throwing me off. One short.
there you go. The next one is Haya Rui. Hi, Rui.
Hi, Rui.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Now, this one, to go away from it, again shows that some dragons could have been based on real creatures. Believe it or not, although this is a Japanese dragon, it had the body, claws, and wings of a bird, and yet it had the head of a dragon. And like most people are thinking, okay, well, come on, that's just silly. What? That can't be real. Actually, there is a creature that honestly looks a lot like this and could be the source of this myth, and that's called the great-eared nightjar, which is not an owl,
No,
nor is it
apparently
a chicken.
not a chicken. Maybe a penguin.
How is it a penguin?
It's black and it's white.
No, it's not.
It got black near its beak, and it's got some white on its stomach. So yeah,
It's mostly a off beige yellow. It's not a penguin. Penguins can't fly.
well, this one's sitting down, so for all I know, it can't fly either. So
Look up pictures of the great-eared nightjar. You will find it flying.
fake news.
Anyway, for those of you watching on YouTube, there is a rather interesting looking bird that, honestly, if you've never seen it before, which honestly I had never seen it before either, you could mistake this as having a dragon's head. It's got a very peculiar head. And it does look very dragonette. So, again, it just goes to show you that they're like in European culture, they were basically naming dragons for any type of really mythical or mystical creature, and this is one of the many that could have been corresponded to it. The difference is this is a fairly harmless creature, which goes to direct contrast from the Europeans, where they often named harmful or deadly creatures, since they had a different viewpoint. In the East, dragons could be seen as, well, more docile creatures, like this non-penguin creature.
You're right, chicken.
Not everything's a chicken, Shadow R Fox.
I mean, if I can deep fry it, begs to differ.
Okay, you are not deep frying this bird.
I mean, yeah, because
Well, you're right. He doesn't currently have one.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Okay. For all the people who know where this bird is, if Shadow R Fox comes anywhere near them, do not sell him one. You wouldn't buy one. You just take one.
I mean, kind of. They come out during the night, so no one would see me take it. So
He would
Okay,
just bring the deep. He would just bring the deep fryer with him.
yeah, just shoot it with a BB gun and just place the deep fryer so it falls in there.
So you realize you're basically telling Japan, hey, I plan to hunt one of your birds.
I mean, is it hunting if I knock it out? The deep fryer is doing the killing.
Yes! Okay, moving away from, the slaughter of innocent birds.
Are we sure
To-
they're innocent?
No.
KFC would beg to differ, but okay.
Okay, a creature that's definitely probably not innocent. Another one that's probably based on a real creature is the Uabami. Uabami, which is essentially a giant serpentine dragon that is often killed by a warrior. So more than likely, it's a giant python. I mean, there's no way around it. If you look at every single depiction, which one is on the screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, it looks like a giant python. It's probably a giant. I mean, it's simple. So again, we see real creatures mixed with. And now, going back into myth, they even also dragons.
Cut out there a
drunk?
little bit. Oh, great.
Oh, we're going now to Tibetan dragons.
Oh, okay.
And Tibetan dragons are going back to myth, where they're said to be drunk, they're dragons of thunder, and are often depicted holding orbs. I mean, Siberia's got dragons too, which we don't have images for, so don't worry about those. They're called Enricule and Yiligon, which are basically just multi-headed man-eating. So back to monsters, which, well, it's Siberia. I mean, I would figure that most things in Siberia would probably be less than, based on what we know about Siberia. I mean, there any fault in my logic on that?
I was just thinking of how it's interesting the dragons of Tibet have orbs. What are the orbs? Do they say what the orbs are for or signify?
Yes, I believe that crap. I believe that the orbs are supposed to kind of signify the world power, same as the roiling class. Let me try that again. Ruling class often hold orbs. Like if you
Well,
get
I was just thinking that it's a to throw in because I know more Greek mythology than I do for Tibetan mythology. And I was thinking Uranus, the Titan, who was castrated. His orbs of power that was lost and discarded into the sea.
not sure those are the same type of orbs.
Yeah, I'm just saying, orbs of power, orbs of power.
Yeah, I guess that's
Balls
way
of
to
power,
look at it.
orbs of power. I'm just saying, why is it always a circular object that have all? I mean, you know what? Now I'm starting to see the feminist agenda, the masculine agenda that feminine are always talking about. This is what they're talking about. The balls of power. This is it. This is Illuminati stuff going on right here.
No, the orbs are meant to represent circular round as Earth, or precious gems, or stones.
Well, I
Not
mean, it was precious to Uranus before Kronos
okay.
came along.
Family jewels aren't actually
You
perfect
see, there
globes.
you go. Orbs, family stones, family jewels,
I
Uranus.
was trying to be diplomatic about this. They're not actually, freaking. They're not shaped as perfect circles.
I'm just gonna also throw this at that they would Aphrodite came from one of them. So and she came from a pole, which is a perfect circle.
Well, first of all, there's various myths about
Exactly.
Aphrodite, but still, she can't. Yeah, she is supposed to have come from Uranus's family orbs, but still, or sea foam, depending on what. But she comes out of a giant clamshell naked, not out of orbs.
What do you find in clam? Pearls. Checkmate.
Well, that would make her the pearl.
I'm sure she was curled up in the ball before she stood up. So we need to do a Greek mythology podcast one of these days.
Oh, I hope not.
It would be nothing but castration, incest, and family killing all day long.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it is killing your father, dating, marrying your sister, and castrating your father. There we go.
Don't forget the father eating his children.
Yep, guy have some cannibalism.
Okay, so despite the various testicle jokes that have been going on of this, they are supposed to be emblems of royal power.
Okay.
Precious metals and jewels consisting of a sphere. All of that. The ball is a symbol of the cosmos, the universe, or the earth. That's what they are, and it's a symbol that survives even today. For the current king, the king of England right now, if you notice in coronations, they hold an orb with a cross on top of it. That's the royal orb or celestial orb that they're meant to govern the realm. So this is a symbolism.
Grenade.
It's not a bloody hand grenade.
You're getting the Monty Python joke now.
Yes, I get the Monty Python joke. Okay, for those haters out there, look, I don't hate Monty Python, but I'm kind of hit and miss with their. Okay, it's just like sometimes it's pretty funny, sometimes it's like, oh god. So don't hate me, it's fine. So if we can now move on from the orb talk,
Okay.
please. Okay, please don't sound disappointed. Going on to Ryu.
I'll leave the disappointment to that dragon because that dragon looks so. Look at his face. It looked like it's so miserable. I've never seen such an unhappy, sad. It's the. What's the name of that donkey from Winnie the Pooh?
Eeyore.
Eeyore. It's the Eeyore dragon. Just look at. Oh bother! I'm a golden dragon. What are we doing today, huh? Oh, you guys are building up. I'm assuming this is from Japan. Yeah. Okay. You're the emperor. Good to know. I'm going back into the sea. Oh my goodness! Look at that poor dragon. Archimage, what did you do to that dragon? It looks so afraid.
What on earth would I have done to that dragon?
I don't want to know.
Okay, this dragon is called Ryu, and perhaps it's sad because technically, although it is a sea, and it just basically is kind of supposed to be a coverall for Chinese mythos of dragons, and it goes into a lot of weird territories. There's even stories about how it related with the jellyfish losing its bones, which okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the Rio's weird, but it's supposed to be. It's another CD dragon. It encompasses a lot of different dragons and mythos. It's kind of like just a one-word version for all. Like you can use Rio to mean almost any kind of dragon.
Okay. Well, I got the real Ryu dragon right here.
I guess that works.
That's the real Ryu. He's not sad.
Clearly not.
For those wondering, it's a picture of Street Fighter Ryu.
Yes, in an awesome stance, by the way.
Yes.
So moving on to another dragon, Ryujin. Okay, so Ryujin is a dragon that sometimes to Ryu. Ryu can denote that, but its official name is Ryujin. Now Ryujin is important as so it's the father of several different emperors, as it basically can change into a human. Not it married a princess and she gave birth to the first emperor of Japan, Jimmu, who the Dragon Emperor Jimmu, which is said to be the grandson of the dragon's offspring. So basically, the Emperor of Japan, first Emperor of Japan, claims that he is descendant of an all-powerful mythological dragon who could shapeshift and basically mated with a human woman. It's like, okay, well that's one way to claim significance. I mean, and really, that's what dragons are in Asian cultures, that they are symbols of power. The reason that they're not deified, not demonified, why they're not, seen as these horrible creatures of plague or destruction is because they're used for symbols of deity, symbols of power and prestige, meant to show almost a royal bloodline.
That sounds like every Greek king literally traced their lineage back to the Olympian. You have Minos saying, I think he was son of either Zeus or Poseidon. You had
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great directly saying he was from Zeus. You had I think the King of Thieves was was one of the Greek heroes. I can't remember which one from a demigod. Pretty much, you throw a dart at one of the heroes, Perseus, or any of the heroes, and they generally, someone claimed that they are lineage from them or directly from the gods.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the same thing, only in this case, they use dragon. Why? Because Dragons had a lot more power. And, okay, so a disclaimer, I don't want to offend Japanese or Chinese, but I'm going with the pure facts based on the knowledge and the archaeological evidence that is currently known at this point. It seems that Japanese dragons in particular were influenced by the legend of Chinese dragons that they came over. Now, in support of this, Japan's earliest mention or depiction of dragons came from the, I'm going to butcher this, Nikongic Mythos Histories, which was a text written about them, which was around and dated of 720 AD. This is one of the earliest earliest mentions of dragons. The closest you could have is maybe a text from Juki, which only still dates them around 688. Now in China, the earliest depiction of a dragon was from the Zhelonga culture between like 6200 BC to 5400 BC. And the earliest known depiction of a dragon in China is actually a stylized C-shaped dragon carved out of jade. And this was found actually in eastern India. And it is about 45, it comes from about 4500 BC. So it is the oldest depiction of a dragon we have in history. So, based on the mythos of Japanese and Chinese dragons being so closely related, in fact, all of these Asian dragons, they're weather deities. They influence rain, they droughts. They are these powerful creatures. More than likely, they both shared this common ancestral mythos of a powerful water-based serpentine. Now, you can see in the sea dragon is basically a very plain serpentine-like dragon. So where did the legs come from, and why are the dragons seen instead as good luck? Well, from what we can tell, it's because of what the dragon symbolized first and foremost was power. So when the emperors started to come out, especially in China, they wanted a symbol of power. And what better one than a dragon? And that's where dragons stopped being symbols of terror and evil and started becoming symbols of prestige and power. Because you can see this, and that might be why they gained legs. For instance, emperors who had dragons were separated from others by the number of toes the dragons had. 5 toes or 5 claws on the dragon, the emperor, where 4 or 3 denoted lower classes. And that's where it kind of comes into place, is they wanted powerful creatures to represent their power. And well, if this is representing their power, if they're supposed to be a symbol of them, they can't exactly be evil, can they? You can't have an evil emperor or an evil ruler. I mean, that's just insane.
That's made up.
No,
Fake news.
yeah, no, exactly. No emperors or kings or rulers have ever been evil throughout
No,
all of human history.
I can't think of one.
No, I can't either. Zed, can you think of any such thing as idiotic as an evil king or emperor?
No corruption here, citizen.
I need vodka.
Yes. So, clearly, no such thing. Did you really put it over the...
Just for those who couldn't see the resemblance.
What happened?
And look close. It's a fine wall, though, Zed. See what it spot the difference.
What do you mean spot the difference?
Look in the middle. Look in the middle of the picture on the image.
I am looking in the middle. I don't.
Oh, it's hard for him to tell.
What?
I'll make it slightly easier by going back to the original.
Am I an idiot?
Oh, okay. So,
Oh, did you not see it? Like literally in the middle, the green dragon.
What?
In the middle of the picture on YouTube, the green dragon. Like in the middle of the magnifying
so
glass.
keep looking at it.
Okay. Oh, that one! You son of a... I was looking at the other picture.
I thought you were. I honestly thought you.
No, yeah, that I see.
I wanted to see who would catch it first.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Yes, for those
Yes,
wondering
so-
about the cover from the book, that is the same dragon.
Okay.
Yes, on the cover from the book. Which, by the way, if you want information on dragons or any other creatures, I highly suggest you get the book Probable, Possible, Plausible, an Explanatory Guide to Monsters. Which
It's gonna always be in the description of both podcasts and YouTube videos.
exactly. And so furthermore, so the reason that dragons in the Eastern Hemisphere seem to be more about luck, more a symbol of good fortune and power, is because of the emperors literally changing the mythos of the dragon to represent themselves as being good, gracious, and kind, great and noble emperors who had the right to rule. Which, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you're emperor, anybody who disagrees with you pretty much kill, so why not? And that's pretty much, from what I can tell, where the change comes from. Started close to the outskirts of China and spread throughout the East, becoming more and more noble, which is why you find, although they're powerful and can cause destruction, they're still seen as this noble representation because of their relation to the emperors who wanted a symbol of power. And that's pretty much it for why the Asian dragons are as they are, and why there's such a difference between how they're viewed between the Western dragons. Anything you guys want to add?
And that's how we got the Dragon Balls.
Really? That's where you want to leave it, huh?
Yep. It doesn't help that there's a Shenrong like dragon on screen and there's a orb right in the middle.
Okay, no, it doesn't help. But okay, now you see, every time I hear the word Dragon Ball, I'm gonna think bloody discussion with frickin' Kronos, Uranus, and all the orbs of people. Thanks a lot.
Orbs of power, Dragon Balls, Uranus Ball. Like, it's all connected. This is some Illuminati shit
Are y'all
going on.
done playing with the family jewels yet?
This is some. You're gonna see me conspiracy theory of all the mythologies
Oh,
and the.
God.
Where's the defining balls? Where do it begins?
So the celestial orb conspiracy.
Yes.
Oh God.
You know what? All the planets. What shape are they?
Zed, is this my fault?
Yes.
What shape is the stars?
You know what's not in the shape of a perfect orb?
A black hole.
Well, yes, but
It's kind of round.
that's not what I was going with. Okay. That's all I got. Anything you guys want to add that doesn't involve celestial orbs? Is that a no?
No.
I'm just thinking.
Oh God, I've created a monster. Okay, please join us next time where we're going to be continuing our look into dragons, going into African dragons, and apparently join us later for another side podcast where we'll be looking at celestial orb conspiracies.
Oh, okay. I hope since we're going to African Dragon, I hope I get to talk about. Is this gonna be another witch train scenario?
Oh God,
No, no.
Are we gonna have a dragon witch train going on?
no witch trains.
You know he has a specific location where that picture is, right? Just
Yes.
for when he can use it again.
God dang, that really got me too.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you in the next.
Okay, see y'all in the next one.
Au revoir.